Okay, so next thing to remove is the death cap here. So this is not needed anymore. This is a part of old amp design, and it's actually dangerous. I don't quite understand all the details behind them. I need to look it up, but I am familiar with the term. And from what I understand, basically, because it's connected to ground, if something goes wrong, you can actually get high voltage to the chassis. I think, don't quote me on that, I think it's something along those lines. But either way, this is not needed anymore. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect it. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to pull it from here. It looks like it's all tangled, but we'll try and desolder here and then see what happens. So I'm just going to snip it because I can see it's wrapped around in a hook. It's going to be really hard to undo it here. It's going to be tricky. Let's see if you guys can see that. Now you want to be able to see with all the wires and everything. You kind of see there. So it's wrapped around a different wire. What wire is that? I can't even tell. Oh, it's the wire to this cap. So actually, I need to remove this anyways, so I can just desolder it there, and then that'll be able to pull them apart. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna have to cut that as well. So I don't really know how to give you guys a better view of that. It's pretty tough to see. All right. So now I'm going to disconnect it from here, and I should be able to pull both out. Yeah, and this solder connection is just awful here. We'll see if I can just pull it. Actually, I'm going to cut it first. I think that'll be easier. All right, there you go. Zoom out. So there's the death cap. It's kind of bulging and not in its best condition here. So that would be original to the amp here. And then this was the replacement capacitor. Now the value on this is different than what the amp calls for. So this is a, let's see if I can see it here. 40, looks like 47 microfarad, 500 volt capacitor, whereas the schematic in the amp calls for, I need to pull it up. I don't even have it in front of me, but it's definitely not that. Let me see. Pull up a photo of it real quick. 20 microfarad is what it calls for, and this is 47. It doesn't say the voltage on the schematic, which I find kind of interesting that the amp requires, but 500 volts is a safe amount. It's overkill, honestly, but from what I understand, that's fine. So I just went with 500 volt, 22 microfarad replacement caps from F&T. So one of those is going to go here. The other one will replace that. So let's go ahead and do that now. So this one had the indent connecting here on that leg. So I'm going to orientate this the same. You can see it's a good bit smaller than the Ruby branded one that was in it, but they actually look very similar. So basically I just need to connect this here and this to ground. Before I do that, I'm going to try and figure out what's going on here and clean this up because it looks like a mess. I'll zoom in so you guys can see it better. So this one is also a carcass of multiple wires, it looks like. Wow. I don't know if you guys will be able to see how much excess solder there is on that. That's insane. Tons of wire and solder here. Hope you guys can see that. I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit more. See this massive pool of extra solder. Get that cable out of the way. So we're going to try and suck that up with the solder sucker. Hopefully this will work well. All right, so now we would like to connect this back here. I don't need that much wire, so I can cut that back pretty significantly. I guess I just need to go from there to there. So we'll cut this. Okay, so these are set more or less how I want them. They're just not soldered in. Now I've got the cap here, and so I need to connect this to there, and then this end to ground. So I can go here, or I can flip it the other way, connect there, and here to a different ground, like here or here. I think I'd prefer this orientation, kind of how it was before, and kind of have it here. Something akin to this, roughly. something like that. And this side goes there. And that side will go to ground. So let's go ahead and I think that'll be good like that. So let's go ahead and get this all soldered together. It's a bit of a tough thing to solder, so much going on here. We'll do our best. Looking all around, from every angle I can see, that is a solid solder connection. Everything looks to be in there good. So that's solid, so now I'm just going to connect the ground there. We should be good to go. So the toughest part here is, should be a hole, but this green wire is kind of taking up a lot of the room. I don't know how much you guys can be able to see of that. So we'll see. So my plan is just to see if I can poke it right through like that. We'll see though. We'll see if there's room. Oh, damn it. Okay, that's okay. Everything fell out, but that's okay. It's better this way because I can redo it, make it look nicer. Theme of this series. Alright, I'm not happy with that. I didn't get it through the hole. Dang it. Part of me thinks I should just solder on a new separate ground for this. Like solder something over here. That's totally separate. That might be better, honestly. All right, I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna solder a new connection to ground straight to the chassis. So we'll leave that off and let's go ahead and swap this one now. strong fumes. I think I'm actually going to connect them both to the same ground here. It looks kind of cool having them both cross over like that. There's really not much room here for me, but maybe I can do it back here. Like that. All right. That's where we're at. So we got the 2 filter caps in here, cleaned up this wiring, all that's good to go. Everything looks good to me. This wiring around here on these is not the best, but it's fine. This wiring here is not the best, but it's fine. Everything I've touched, I think, looks pretty good in my opinion. This is a little long. I could probably cut this and redo this one. I'm not really concerned about that right now. So the last thing, if I'm looking at this correctly, the last thing I have to do to this amp, apart from cleaning up a couple solder joints from the previous guy, is connecting this ground. So I can either try and connect it here to where I've already got these 2 grounds going, or I just go directly to the chassis. And I think what I'm going to do is just go directly to the chassis. So I'll just bust out the beast and create a new solder joint here for the chassis ground, and that will cover that. Super excited, we're almost there. So close. So the last little bit of the puzzle is connecting this to the chassis for ground. So I'm just going to go ahead and mock it up. I think I'm just going to kind of have it like this. Just going to go here, so it's just got its own little spot kind of away from everything. And so we'll just go ahead and do like we did before and sand it down. Okay, so now I'm going to scuff it up a little bit more. Last but not least, we will go ahead and clean it with a little bit of lighter fluid, naphtha. So I guess the better term to call it. All right, so that should be good to go now. So that'll go about there. And now we just need to add solder, get a pool going there, and then we can add the wire after. So we get a bunch of solder prepared, get the beast out. Going to add a little bit more. So now this is the tricky part. I'm going to need to add even more solder, really make a pool there. All right, I think that will work. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit and then get out the multimeter to test to make sure it's a decent ground. But I think that's good. That's, I mean, pretty solid. It's not going to go anywhere. And that definitely connected to the chassis pretty well, I think. So I decided I'm going to hit the joint one more time and just add some more solder. So I've got the helping hands holding it down for us here. I just want to make sure there's plenty of solder there holding it down. So and that looks better to me. Yeah. All right, I think that's it. So now I'm going to grab the multimeter and we will do a test to see if we're getting continuity between the chassis and the ground on the 3-prong plug. So let's go do that now. So we'll go ahead and connect one end to one prong here, and then I think it goes to this black one. Let's see. So that's correct. So it will not work on the other two. This one then should go to the white. It does not go to the other two, which means that this one right here will be the green. So we'll just kind of hold that as tight as I can. Now, if I touch anywhere on the chassis, it should work if I did this correctly. Okay. And if I touch elsewhere, perfect. So that seems to have worked. If I touch any ground anywhere else on the chassis, it'll work. So even if I go way over here, you can barely see in frame, that ground that we added, that we also connected to the chassis, this terminal strip, I should say, the middle prong was a ground. If I touch that, it should work, and it does. So anywhere I touch will be good. So that is a solid chassis ground. And that, ladies and gentlemen, or really more accurately, gentlemen, is it. This amp rebuild is basically done. The only thing left I could do is clean up some of these little bit extra wire here, but other than that, it's fine. It's just extra long. Some of these connections, these solder joints are not great, but not a massive deal. They're all on there good. They just don't look that pretty, but everything else is done. So really the last piece eventually is to add silicone under these to hold the two filter caps down, but that can be done at any time. So the amp should work regardless of that. So next stop, plugging it in, and well, I should say hooking up the speaker cables here to the speaker, putting the chassis back in to the cabinet, and then putting the tubes in it and turning it on for the first time. And fingers crossed we don't get any smoke or any signs of failure. So, all right, that'll be for another day.